First thing I want to do while you guys are thinking of your questions, putting them into sections, is review what's going on with your AP exam. So I'm just going to review the basic stuff that you probably already know. So you're going to have 2 FRQs, your design and investigation, and propose an environmental solution. So with your FRQ1, you're going to have 25 minutes, and then that FRQ is going to deal with hypothesis testing, independent variable, dependent variable, data collection, control groups. And one of the biggest things you really need to know about data collection is just repetition, repetition, repetition. Repeat your experiment as many times as you can, because that's going to give you the best results, and that's going to make your AP reader give you the most amount of points. For FRQ2, you're going to be proposing an environmental solution. What's the problem? How can I fix it? You know, those type of questions. All the questions that you would ask yourself in Unit 9 when it's not on your exam. And Celine asks in the chat, is this recorded? Yes, FIFO streams are always recorded, and the replay will be posted very soon after the stream. All right, so basically your FRQ2 proposed environmental solution, that's going to deal with more science, but that's the one that I'm going to mainly be going over today if you guys don't have any questions. So like I said, pop your questions in the Ask a Question section, put them in the chat as I'm going through your AP exam updates. So what else do we know? Do the demo. Like number 1 tip right now, I think that Mr. Nielsen talked about it in your cram session the other day, but do the demo. You need to practice for the exam anyways, and also it tells you if your computer is compatible with the AP software or not, because a lot of different browsers and different computers are not compatible. And also you want to make sure that, you know, your computer is compatible and your browser is compatible, because it really depends. So, you know, just do the demo. It takes time, but like you can even practice doing an APES FRQ in the demo. Like you can submit a whole FRQ and just test it out. The last thing that we've learned is you don't want to wait to submit. You need to use all of your time that you're given to submit. Like, don't keep writing into that 5 minutes, just use it to submit, because even copy paste has been taking a long time. Copy paste, we've learned, is the shortest method. It's the one that takes the least amount of time, but you need to be using all 5 minutes. A lot of people have struggled with uploading times, even if, you know, even if you give yourself 2 minutes, that's not enough. You need to give yourself at least 4 minutes, probably 5 minutes. Once that timer turns red and hits 5 minutes, you want to be done. Like, you want to be done there. So Al says, a friend of mine said copy paste didn't work for her. Maybe try the demo uploading a PDF. Yeah, you can try the demo uploading whatever way you're going to do. My recommendation is copy paste, and apparently Samantha in the chat's recommendation is copy paste. But, you know, you guys can do whatever you want. If you want to type it and upload a PDF, perfectly fine. But practice doing the demo the way that you're going to do the test. If you want to take a picture and you're more comfortable with handwriting, then do that. But just do whatever you're going to do for the test. All right, so time for the real, you know, point of coming to this stream. Do you guys have any questions? If you don't have any questions, put like, you know, a sad face emoji, or like you can just do the colon and then the, you know, parentheses if you don't have emojis. So you guys have any questions? So Celine asked that FRQ2 is going to be problem solving. Yeah. So you're going to be, you know, proposing an environmental solution, which is basically like trying to solve a problem. So Samantha used the emoji, so I'm guessing that that means that she really has no questions. But yeah, Celine, question 2 is about problem solving. So it's about solving the problem that they're giving you about the environment. All right, so I have 4 people who said that in the chat, but 54 on the stream. So, okay, Lily asks, are there any specific topics that you can predict the questions will be about? Okay, so I don't really have any question predictions for APES this year. I mean, there's so much content that they could ask about in these 2 FRQs. Like, I really don't have a content prediction, but what I can tell you is, especially for your design and investigation FRQ, you need to focus on the scientific method. Like, if you don't know the scientific method, just know that. And like Samantha's saying in the chat, for other AP exams, there have been up to 15 different prompts that people have gotten. So, you know, I could say that your question 1 is going to be about acid rain, and that could be true for about 5 of you on the stream, but the other 44 of you, you guys are going to have a different prompt. You know, there are a ton of different prompts, so can't really make a ton of predictions this year about the topics. And then proposed environmental solution, this FRQ is like so practicable. Like there are so many things you can do to practice for FRQ number 2. I mean, there are for number 1, but today in the stream, when you guys don't have any, then won't have, you guys, I cannot talk today. So in this stream, this proposed environmental solution FRQ is going to be really easy to prepare for. Like today, I'm going to be going through this. If you guys don't have a ton of questions, that's my main alternate activity. Something I wanted to try writing on my computer, but then that didn't work, and then I had to switch laptops, and it was a whole, issue. So Celine says, also, how do you maximize the points for each question? Are there checklists on how to answer them? So basically, APES is a class with FRQs that are usually, like, a lot of the sections are 1 point to 1 to 2 points. Most questions are not like 3 or more points in APES. So when you're answering questions, my biggest tip is that you want to be, you want to give them enough to prove that you actually know this. Because APES is referred to as like an easy AP class, and while that's sort of true, because the content is just building on other things that you've learned previously in like your life in school, the FRQs are going to kind of be difficult, because you really have to explain the scientific processes behind things in order for the readers to give you points for questions that say describe, discuss, explain. So you really want to, prove the scientific process behind something. That's really the easiest way to make sure that you get the points on these FRQs. Caitlin says, in your opinion, what's the most important unit to review? I don't really have one important unit, but if you have to like cut some units off, I would say definitely review units 3 through 7 more than 1 and 2, because those are more likely to appear on your exam, because units 1 and 2 kind of have the basic concepts of APES that are going to appear again in other units of the course. And anyways, just like review what you struggle with. If you don't know anything about the atmosphere, the layers of the atmosphere, soil horizons, or El Nino, study Unit 4. If you don't know anything about agriculture or urbanization, then study Unit 5. If you don't know anything about population growth and K-selected and R-selected species, study Unit 3. If you don't know anything about the different types of air pollutants, study Unit 7. I mean, it's basically just what do you not know, study that. Maddie says, how detailed do you need to be in your solution? So it really depends, because some of these solution questions ask you to describe a solution. Some of them ask you to make a claim. Some of them, there are a ton of different verbs for proposing the solution. And we can look at a few of those today, but like, it's really subjective for that question. Saul says, do you have any advice for time management skills? Like example, the AP Chem exam had part A through G. I feel like I couldn't handle it in the time frame. So basically, like, just go through the questions. If you don't know the answer, don't try it yet. I mean, always come back to it, but don't try it yet. Make sure you have every question answered with at least like 1 sentence when you turn it in, if time allows you to. But just, make sure that you do the questions that you can answer first, because if part G was like the easiest thing you've learned all year, but you spent so much time on part D because you didn't, really fully grasp the concept, skip D and keep moving on. Okay. I think that Samantha kind of said that. Tanya, yeah, what you said is true, I guess. Okay, so these APES FRQs, like I see a lot of questions in the chat about this. They're not just going to be about the scientific method. They're not just going to be about proposing an environmental solution. As the College Board has released sample FRQs for this year, we've seen that they're going to be like regular, just like explaining concepts, describing scientific processes before you actually get to the part of the FRQ that asks you to propose a solution. So, for example, with FRQ 1, the sample questions that they've released have had like parts A through C be like 3 different describes, discusses, or explains about like the scientific processes behind something, and then the part D was broken up into 4 sections that actually asked you to design your experiment. Or the other sample FRQ had you analyze an experiment and pick out the parts, and then go on after that and then explain another scientific process. So yeah, I think that mainly answers your question. I got one in the parking lot tab. Alexandria says, how many questions will each part have? I mean, how many parts will each question have? So we're not sure about that yet. We're not really sure about anything about these questions yet. The only thing that the College Board has said is that there's probably going to be more FRQ parts than you can answer in the time. Okay. So I don't see any other questions. I mean, there are 54 people here, and I've only seen like 10, 11, 12 ask questions in the chat or like say stuff. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them at any time. But I do want to try doing like a review strategy thing with you. So let me find it. So I want to put up a poll. What unit are you weakest with? And then my options for right now are going to be 5, 6, and 7. There. Can you go vote in the poll? So I only have those 3 units for like this review activity thing prepared, and also those are the units that I think will likely be on the part that I'm going to review. So it looks like I have the most votes for Unit 5 right now, and a few votes for Unit 6. So I'll describe the units while you guys are voting. So Unit 5 is going to be land and water use. So it's going to have all the different things about agriculture, mining. It's going to have, can't even think about it. It's going to have mining, agriculture, like other things that I'm forgetting. Let me look it up real quick. And then Unit 6 is about energy resources. Oh, yeah, also urbanization, Unit 5, thank you. But Unit 6 is going to be about energy resources and consumption. So you're going to have coal, natural gas, and you're going to talk about non-renewable versus renewable energy. Then you're going to have, the other energy stuff you guys learned about. Unit 7 is about atmospheric pollution. So you're going to have all your air pollutants, photochemical smog, thermal inversion, acid rain, noise pollution, etc. Yeah, Unit 5 is definitely the longest unit of these. It looks like Unit 5 is winning, with the next runner-up being 6 and 7 getting 0 votes. That's good. That's good. So it looks like I'm going to do this for Unit 5. And then just to review, I'm just going to read through all these things. So Unit 5, the topics are tragedy of the commons, clear cutting and deforestation, the Green Revolution, impacts of agricultural practices, irrigation, IPM, meat production, overfishing, mining, urbanization, sustainability, ecological footprints, urbanization again, sustainable agriculture, aquaculture, and forestry. Okay, so minus energy. All right, so I'll just go with Unit 5 now, and then we can move on. So Celine says, are you going to do any more reviews after this one? So this is the title of this is called the final open Q&A session. So the next review that we have, I don't think that Mr. Nielsen has another cram before we have the 5-hour cram. So, I mean, I think that this is it besides the 5-hour cram for your exam. His last regular cram session was yesterday. This is kind of what I wanted to look at for Unit 5. I'm going to make the slides bigger, don't worry. So this is called my Harrison's Proposed and Environmental Solution Practice Chart. So this is kind of the best way to review for your exam, like for FRQ2 at least. So I've kind of taken some things they could definitely ask you, and let me edit the slide here just so you guys can actually see this, because I don't think you can. Let's try that. Let's see, can you guys see this? Okay, it looks better now. So I've picked a few topics that I think like could be on your FRQ, things like that. So, and then I kind of want to go through this with you. It's fuzzy. Well, I'll read through it with you guys, so it's not going to be a real problem. So don't worry about it that much. So let's see how I can make this easier for you guys to see. Can I take away this sidebar? Does anybody know, like, kind of not thinking about what I can do here? Okay, so this looks good. So I kind of just want to go, I would click present, but I'm going to be writing on these. The slides have been posted. I can't really go into present mode right now because I'm going to be editing this with you guys. So, Okay, so proposed environmental solution practice chart Unit 5. So basically I picked a few topics like concentrated animal feedlot, something. And then I picked urbanization, paved roads, overfishing / overharvesting, mining, and then coal, just because coal is kind of related to mining. It's kind of a Unit 6 concept, but I just wanted to include it here since, the poll said that Unit 6 was a close runner-up to Unit 5. So I'll get started with this, and the slides are going to be in the resources section of this, so you can see this whole chart when we're going to be done. Okay, so let's start with this. I actually want to start from the bottom and work my way up. So let's start with coal, since you guys said Unit 6 was your easiest. So what's a problem that we have with coal? Like anything about coal, how we use it, how we burn it, what happens with coal, what it's used for, that's going to be this first column. Then the next column is going to be pros about it. So why do we use coal? What's good about coal? The next column after that is cons and disadvantages. So, what's bad about coal? So it's kind of like restating the problem, but in a way that we can move on to the next column to provide a solution for our disadvantages. And then after that, I kind of want to go a little bit more in depth and this is going to be like the complexity in AP histories and say, what are the unintended consequences of our solutions? Now, one of the biggest things about FRQ2 is that we can't, just say ban as a solution. You're going to have access to the chart later because it's in the slide materials that are posted under the resources section of this stream. So, yeah, let's get started with coal. So Samantha said a problem is that it burns dirty. Okay, so I like that. But does somebody want to go into a little bit more depth about what burns dirty means? So, what about it is dirty? Because, you guys should know that by now there is no such thing as clean coal. So what do we have? Tons of CO2, non-renewable. I like all of this. So we have CO2. I also saw particulate matter just now. That one's a good one. Particulate matter is a big Unit 7 concept. It causes all tons of nasty diseases. Okay, so I see in here a lot of air pollution. But one thing that I'm going to caution you guys on that, I told you in Mr. Nielsen's cram session because I like to hang out in the chat in those for some reason, and, he told you this too, you can't just say air pollution as your problem. You can't just say air pollution on your exam and your FRQ. This is AP Environmental Science. If you say air pollution, you're just naming the title of Unit 7. You have to say the specific types of air pollutants. You have to say why it's air pollution, why it's air pollution. And I see that Tanya specified, but there are a few other people who didn't specify. I think that Maddie, Tanya, I know that Samantha heard this the other day. You can't just say air pollution. You can't just say it. You have to say why it causes air pollution, how the air pollution affects the environment, how the air pollution affects human health, or what the specific pollutant is. All right. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox now and keep reading this chat. So I see tons of CO2. Okay, sulfur dioxide. That's a big one with coal. That's the real reason that we say that coal burns dirty is because of the sulfur dioxide. And then I see that Charbel, or I don't know how to pronounce your name. If you put the phonetic pronunciation in the chat, I won't get it wrong again, I promise. Charbel. All right. And then I see the tailings for mining it and acid mine deposition. But since I have number 14 about mining, I'm going to leave that one for later. Okay. I also see lead, which is I'm going to abbreviate PB, and mercury, which I'm going to abbreviate HG. And then I'll also just put down acid rain. We said, I'd rather call it acid deposition because that's just the fancier way of putting it. That's the more. It accounts for acid snow, acid sleet, acid rain, all of that good stuff. And acid deposition also comes with coal mining when you have the, the acid from the acid mining. Did not think of a better way to put that, even though I was trying to. All right. So now let's think about what are some benefits of using coal? What are benefits of coal in general? Charbel. Okay, it's Charbel. Got it. Yes, that is acceptable, Gabriel, for just saying air pollution. It's cheap, but what is it cheap for? See, you guys are going to get annoyed by me saying, okay, but more. Very cheap. Okay. It has high potential energy. What else? I'm still waiting on what it's cheap for, by the way. Cheap to refine. Ooh, like that vocabulary word. So we can also put what you said, cheap to refine and produce. Never mind, we don't have enough space on our chart. And then I'll take one more thing. Okay, so actually I see something in the chat. So Charbel, got your name right, says, hi, EIORI or whatever. Okay, so when you're writing an FRQ, you need to make sure that you're not abbreviating everything, because I know what EIROI is, but your AP reader might not. So you need to make sure you're spelling out everything, and like if you don't have to, don't abbreviate it. Abbreviating things with like their periodic table stuff like CO2, PM for particulate matter, SOX, PB for lead, Hg for mercury, like periodic table elements are fine, but you can't just use you know, any acronyms. You can't use the acronym HIPOC on your exam, which is just kind of like the bad effects on the environment, so that some APES teachers use. Like there's a ton of different acronyms that we use in APES, but you can't just say those on the exam. Okay. What was the last one? Oh, okay. Easy transportation, no pipelines. I like that. Okay, so let's see. What do we have for cons or disadvantages of coal? So we've kind of already had the problem, so I'm not going to go through this section again with you because we kind of came up with a lot of good cons. There's not much more for us to come up with there, unless anybody else wants to come up with one. But yeah, so mitigations and solutions. So, okay, the mining process. We can just talk about that with mining, Maddie. But good answer. Okay, so what are some solutions for these things? What are some solutions? So with your solutions, you can either just try to fix each of the three issues individually, or you can just fix all of them together. Okay. Okay, I like that. Charbel. Charbel says scrubbers to remove the SOX, like that a lot. On my exam, I would say wet scrubbers because that's a more specific type that really works on removing PM and SOX. Electrostatic precipitators. So I'm also just going to put ES right here, but you guys are going to know. Like you can't use that on the exam. You guys are going to know because I'm trying to save time here. Okay, so Celine, you say use clean coal, but I mean, in real life, there is no such thing as clean coal. Coal, like we said, burns dirty. And there's no such thing that we can do just to remove the sulfur from coal. Anthracite, which is the highest quality of coal, has the least amount of sulfur content, but, you know, it's just not something that exists. We don't have clean coal in the world. For what we call clean coal is really just like natural gas. Okay. Okay, Caitlin, you say switch to a renewable energy source like solar power. But how does that fix the problems that we have here? Okay, so all of you guys are saying like transition to renewable energies, reduce emissions, all that. But how will that happen? So if I switch my house from, you know, using gas for electricity and I switch to moving solar power on my roof, you know, that's fine. But that's not going to make the environmental impact that I want. So since we're proposing an environmental solution right now, you're going to want to say, have the government educate people about XYZ, you know, provide government incentives for XYZ. You can't just say, you know, a solution is transitioning to cleaner renewable energy sources, because who's transitioning to cleaner renewable energy sources? What renewable energy sources? Because we're in APES, AP Environmental Science. Unit 6 is all about energy. We need to figure out the specifics of everything. This class is, like I've said, it's referred to as like an easy AP. It's referred to as the easiest AP science. But what you guys are missing when you say that is that APES is all about the details. Like it's all about the specifics. That's what separates people who get a 3 on the exam from people who get a 5. It's just your specifics and all of that. Okay. Okay, so Charbel says we could incentivize renewable energy. So I'm going to make that a little bit more specific just to, you know, make it fit better on the chart and save us some time. Government, again, I'm going to abbreviate safe space here, incentives for renewables. Let's just say solar and hydro, and let's pick another random form, wind energy. Because we already give out a ton of government incentives for solar and wind energy, so that's not a really crazy solution. Especially, I'm from Texas. I think that, let's look at the analytics here. So I'm from Dallas, Texas. I think that looking at this, we have people all the way from, you know, we have somebody from Woodinville, Washington, near Seattle, and then we also have Miami, and we also have we have somebody from Hawaii, Hilo, Hawaii, cool. And then we also have, is that Dominican Republic? Via Isono? I don't know, but, you know, we have people from all over the place. But where I'm from in Texas, I guess I didn't even introduce myself today, but, oh, Gabriel, you're from the DR. Cool. International. Okay, so back to what I was saying, Texas especially gives a lot of government incentives for wind energy because we have a lot of oil and natural gas in Texas around Houston, and then we also have oil, you know, where we had the whole oil boom in, you know, West Texas and Midland. But we're giving a lot of incentives for wind energy now since we have just so much open space, open plains in Texas, and it's like a cleaner form of renewable energy. I love looking at where people are from in streams because it's just so fun. And now you guys are like, "Ooh, you're from the Dominican Republic. Fun." So what do we have? Tanya says so many windmills. Yes, so many windmills. But, you know, the cons of wind energy are that, like, they're kind of ugly. That's really, like, the main con. They're kind of expensive. They're kind of ugly. Ooh, Tanya, you're from Dallas too. Cool. All right. So what are some unintended consequences of these potential solutions? So just to speed us up a little bit, so you can do the other Unit 5 stuff, we just talked about wind energy. Wind turbines are ugly. Like, lots of people say they're ugly. Mr. Nielsen, who's also from Dallas, so Tanya, Joshua, and I are from Dallas area. Cool. But, you know, he thinks that wind turbines actually look fun, look cool, but, you know, maybe it's just because he's an AP environmental science teacher. Woo! Okay. Let me see. Maddie says, I'm from Washington. We do more water, hydroelectric power. Yeah, that's just because of the geography. You're on the Pacific Ocean. You have the bay. Like, you have all that stuff there that we do not have in Dallas, Texas. We do not have we only have one natural lake in Texas. Everything else is man-made. So Gabriel says, a problem from educating the people solution is that we've tried educating the population a lot of times, but the environmental opinions don't change that much. In real life, I totally agree with you, Gabriel, like 100%. But in APES, I don't. For FRQs, education is an awesome solution. Okay, so David says, can we say it's ugly if they ask us on the test? Okay, so ugly can't just be your reason for not using wind energy. You could say that the wind turbines are large and take up a lot of space, and to most of the general population look ugly. You could say that they detract from the ecotourism of the area. Like, related to something cultural or economic, people have aesthetic concerns about it, is what actually our course and exam description says. Charbel says they also, you know, harm birds. So wind turbines, not good. Not good for birds' aesthetics. I cannot type. Let's make this smaller so it'll fit. Okay, so what else do we have? What's a negative consequence? Noise pollution. Like that one. That's the Unit 7 concept that you guys learned about. So we've got some negative concepts for wind energy, so we're good there. So we are good on that one. So now let's move on to something that's actually in Unit 5. So let me try to take all of these And oh no, 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 no. Let me just move it up right here. And let me move it up so that we have all this fill out. If you guys want to do this for a different unit, that's completely fine with me. Just like tell me if you want to switch it in the chat. But I'm just going to do whatever you guys want. And I'm just going to keep going through this unless you guys have any other questions. So don't hesitate to ask me. But I'm just going to keep going through this just to help prep you for your exam, just in case you do get any of these. Expensive is generally what I would put here, like money, 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 as Mr. Krabs would say. Everything is a lot of money. Everything costs a lot of money, like a lot of money. Okay, so let's see. Oh no, I just got a message. Okay, so let's keep going with, do you guys want to do mining, overfishing, urbanization, or CAFOs? So I don't actually want to do paved roads because that one's really obvious and only has like one thing. Like paved roads just cause runoff. That's really it. They cause runoff, which can cause eutrophication, which, you know, can do all of that jazz. But what do you guys want to do besides that one? Yeah, a pro is that they're easy to drive on. Okay, so CAFOs. So we'll do CAFOs, then urbanization, then mining, then overfishing. Sounds like a plan. Okay, so CAFOs are just feedlots. So feedlots are, you know, it would really help if I could find you guys a picture to show you. I'll find you one. So feedlots are just like these big, you know, giant things where they just keep a ton of animals. Like they have high population density. It's a just giant cattle feed. They have them in very small spaces. I'm going to paste this picture right here for you guys to see. That's a feedlot. That's a CAFO. It's a concentrated animal feeding lot. Don't know where they got the O from, but that's what a CAFO is. That is technically an acronym that you could use on the APES exam since like it's one that they tell us that we can use. There are a few that they tell us we can use, and CAFO is one of them. So this is a feedlot. They probably, if they refer to them as CAFO, they'll probably put in parentheses feedlots, just, you know, to clarify because, you know, well, it's not that cool. All right. Okay, the O could be for operations. Good point. I'm going to get some water. Well, you guys tell me what a problem with CAFOs is. There are like 2 things that I'm thinking of, and if you guys can come up with more, then that's awesome. Okay, so Zara, or Zara, I'm going to go with Zara until you give me a pronunciation in the chat. You said there are ethical issues. Zara. Okay, Zara. Zara said there are ethical issues, but what are the ethical issues? You know, APES is all about the specifics. It's all about the details, just like I said. Let's go through. I see methane emissions, overgrazing, high density, antibiotics. Awesome, awesome. Those are the ones that I was thinking of. So let's see. Got antibiotics. I'm going to add in resistance there. That's a big topic that we talk about with unit, you know, what's it called? Unit 5 with feeding operations like this because there's such a high population density, we have to give all of these, you know, cows antibiotics, but then we're contributing to the antibiotic resistance treadmill because of all these antibiotics in the food. Antibiotics are going to become like, they're not going to be useful anymore because, you know, they're being used so much. Tristan says, are we allowed to use ethical issues as evidence? Yes, you can, but I was just saying, what are the ethical issues? So I'm just going to put my favorites here that you guys said, and then I keep forgetting how to do subscripts on here. Okay, so then methane emissions. What are some pros of CAFOs? Cheap, always a good pro. Cheap is always a reason for us to do something. Less space, because Animal grazing takes up the most land of any agriculture activity. If you've ever heard that eating lower on the food chain is better for the environment, it's because it is. Growing plants takes up less space for the environment. It takes up less space for farms to be in, so we can grow more and feed less people with grains and fruits and vegetables. But then, let's see. Productivity. High productivity, sure. That's kind of taking a unit one concept into the real world. We learn like GPP, NPP, net primary productivity. We're getting a lot of productivity from these cows because it's not a lot of space, and then it's a lot of good, money that farmers can get. Money. Money is always a reason in AP Environmental Science. Money. Mr. Krabs would be so proud. Okay, so what are some cons or disadvantages? Lots of moolah. Yes, lots of moolah, like cows. Got your joke. Okay, so what's some cons? So we said less space in pros, so we can't just say a lot of land needed in cons. Like, I get that that's true, but, Gabriel says same as problems. Perfect. We can just copy these over. I was just waiting for somebody to call me out on that. All right, so what are some solutions for these problems? What are some solutions for antibiotic resistance? Okay, perfect. Free-range grazing. I'm just going to call it free-range graze because I'm not going to have enough space. What else do we got? I like where you said incentivize. So for incentivize from now on, I'm just going to put the $sign because I don't have a lot of space to type it. Okay, so free-range grazing is basically just where you give cows a field and you just let them go wherever they want to. Free range just basically means I'm not contained to one pen. Like when I showed you that picture of feedlot earlier, you saw how they were all in cages. They don't have that. Basically, free range is just like cage-free eggs. Yeah, those are cage-free, free range. Let them wander. Yes. So we can say finite. Okay, I did see a good one that I wanted to regulate antibiotic use. Oh, okay. I'm just going to call it antibio. Regulate antibiotic use for people, too. Educate farmers about dangers. I'm going to add on which one we're going to talk about here because I want to. CH4 cleanup. And then because where do we get methane emissions from CAFOs? I could have you guys tell me in the chat, but I'm going to help speed this up. We get methane from blank. We get methane from cow poop, cow farms. Right. Thank you, David. So we have methane emissions that, get picked up with runoff and pollute things. But then that methane comes from the cow poop. When, we have the CAFOs, most people don't just brain fart, methane fart. When you have the CAFOs, most farmers don't go in and pick up after all the cows. They don't do that. They just leave the poop there. The cows stand in their own poop. And then because of delete the cows, because of that, you're going to have the rainwater, and then the poop is going to get picked up and runoff, and then you're going to have the methane polluting things. That is nasty. You're right. Okay, so just for time's sake, we're not going to focus on this right now. We're done with complexity. Nobody's going for the complexity point today. I know somebody's skipping a WAP session in here, Tanya, but we're not going to worry about that today because we're going to get through this stuff. So next, I promised we'd do urbanization. So what's a problem with urbanization? Okay, I do like Charbel's. The poops act as a fertilizer. Yes. When people say organic fertilizer, what they really mean is cow poop. Well, when people say organic fertilizer, they mean manure. And what they mean by manure is cow poop. There we go. We connected it. Urbanization is basically just like people go to cities. It's going to be like a lot of people live in a small space in the city. Okay, let's see. So we've got destroys habitat, habitat fragmentation, urban sprawl. Okay, pollution. I like pollution, but tell me what pollution. So like we said earlier, I'm just going to say noise pollution because I'm choosing it. And then we don't only have to talk about environmental problems. We can talk about any problems, but your FRQ might say economic, or it might say environmental, or it might say cultural. Like it might ask for different things. Okay, so I'm not gonna like do capitalism as a problem, but let's just focus on things that we actually talk about in apes. Habitat fragmentation, road building. That's close enough. What else do we have? Okay, photochemical smog. Let's just do environment here. Let's just do environment. So what are some pros of urbanization? And okay, I'll add runoff. So give me some pros of urbanization. Okay, I added runoff. Money, jobs, globalization. Fine, perfect. We don't have to stick with environmental. So give me at least one environmental pro of urbanization. And then we're going to use, who is it? Maddie's favorite word of moolah. And then, okay, I'm looking for some environmental pros. I see some, like I see less ecological footprint per capita, which really doesn't, you should really like say per land unit. Okay, let's see, what do we have? So we have less land taken up. Oh wait, I guess we could do that. Yeah, less land, more people. But then let's just say less land leads to less development, because if I put all of the people in one space, then they don't need to go off and clear cut forests. So actually I do like that. Charbel, less land, less development. Charbel's been killing it with the right answers. Also, Gabriel and David have been like describing everything in the chat. So good job, you guys. Everybody is being pretty active today, actually. Oh my gosh. That explanation. Okay, so what are some cons? I'm just going to copy the problems again, but then I'll also add runoff to this list. You know, if it'll let me copy it. Then let me add runoff. Does anybody want to help me fix the problems of the world? Does anybody want to help me fix the problems of the world by using the poop emoji? Does anybody want to help me? Capitalism. Okay. Solutions, people? Solutions. Urbanization solutions. So we've got solutions for noise pollution, habitat fragmentation, photochemical smog, and runoff. I can think of two easy ones for runoff and photochemicals. Delete the people. Okay. Well, on the AP Environmental Science exam, we have to propose realistic solutions. So delete the people. Okay. Al gave me a good one. Permeable surface. Perfect. We're going to stop focusing on deleting the people, and we're going to focus on permeable surface. Love that. Perfect. All right. So Communism. Permeable, Charbel also said permeable pavements. Okay, National Park Service. That's a perfect solution for habitat fragmentation. You can talk about declaring land for natural wildlife protection. Find the farmers. Always find the farmers. Okay, so what would tree planting help us do? We can reduce air pollution by upgrading energy use and alternative. I like that. So to reduce photochemical smog, we can use mass transportation. So that's going to be like subways. That's going to be buses. Anything that has more people. So what's the solution for noise pollution? Does anybody have a solution for noise pollution? I mean, I don't know if I can think of one. Okay, required city bedtimes. So basically that just means like you can't have noise coming from your apartment or your home like after 11 p.m. Yeah, it's kind of like limits on noise. You can't just say move to a quieter neighborhood. Yeah, noise pollution is a problem. Agreed. Noise canceling headphones. Okay. So Caitlin, I like your solution, but again, that's a one-person solution. We need a worldwide solution here. Oh wait, David says, I have a question. Why is noise pollution bad? That's a fair question. Okay. So actually, I want to put this so I can tag this later. Why is noise pollution bad? That's a great question. So noise pollution is bad because I'll start with human reasons and then I'll move to animal reasons. Even though humans are animal, we're not going to worry about that right now. So for human reasons, we have that noise pollution is going to keep people up. It's going to, raise blood pressure. It causes headaches for people, migraines. It's going to, make people distracted. It's going to make people not happy. It's going to decrease our happiness by a lot. For animals though, even though humans are an animal, noise pollution disrupts mating cycles. So they had an FRQ a few years ago, I think, about how noise pollution disrupted the mating cycle of some frog, I think. I'm trying to remember it. It was something like it messes with the migratory something of the animals, and it changes the way that birds hear bird calls, like something like that. Like mating for animals gets messed up by noise pollution because if the noise is so loud coming from a city and a bird is trying to mate, they have to raise the pitch of their voice for the female to hear it because the male's saying the mating call. But the female only responds to a certain pitch of the mating call. So if the female hears the male call but it's too high pitched, the female is not going to go mate with the male. Good question. Great question. All right. So what do we have for problems with overfishing? Oh no, not good. Okay. So what do we have for, now that I have fixed my slides, what do we have as a problem for overfishing? Bycatch, sure. What else do we got? Okay, tragedy of the commons, perfect. That's a perfect Unit 5 concept. First, I'm just going to put out T-O commons. Tragedy of common, even though I cannot spell. Okay, what are some other things? So let's see, I saw something that I wanted to talk about. It was, okay, just COVID, the flu. You said decreased biodiversity, but decreased biodiversity, loss of biodiversity is like a major like apes concept. Like that's like the big number, like what do you learn in the class? Top 4 things, loss of biodiversity. Like you kind of need to be more specific. When you have a describe or explain verb on an FRQ especially, you have to have something to describe or explain. You have to follow it from start to end, especially when you're asked to describe a scientific process like the carbon cycle. You have to follow the thing from start: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. You cannot just go A, B, C, X, Y, Z. You can't just do that. You got to go all the way through the alphabet. You can't just say loss of biodiversity, and I don't have space to describe that here. Okay. That was a good question. When they ask about overfishing, does it focus on fish or all marine animals? All marine animals are fine. Okay, I do like that one, Zara, decreased food security. They're not going to count off for typos. I'm sorry. We are doing fishing, but I put it in the wrong place, so let me fix that. I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. The stream has been all over the place. Let's see. So it does apply to all animals. In which one was I going to do? Decreased food security. Okay. So what are some pros of overfishing? Really? There aren't a lot, so we're going to say no. So then we get to copy our cons and disadvantages again. Move them over here. What are some solutions for these things? Aquaculture. Great answer. What else do we got? Regulate, educate. All of the 8s are perfect, but I want more description. Quotas on open ocean. So basically quotas just means you have a limit on the number of fish you can catch from this place. It's always this answer, money. Great answer, great answer. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I just banned somebody. So fine on unsold fish. Perfect. Basically, you caught too many fish, but then you didn't sell them. Land-based fish farming, aquaculture, same thing. Always money. It's always money. Money's always the answer. Yeah, government should create more protected areas. So that's what I said earlier with the National Park Service. Okay, so let's move on to mining. What are some problems with mining? What are some cons of mining? What are some problems? What are some disadvantages of mining? Tailings, like that one. That's a very specific word. See, a lot of you were saying runoff, but runoff of what? I see that just COVID is being very active and you just came in. But in my streams, I always keep going. If you just say runoff or loss of biodiversity, I'm just going to say of what? Caused by what? So keep going. Let's see. Acid rain. I'm going to call it acid deposition just to be fancier. What else do we got? Worker safety. We talked about that one earlier. We've used noise pollution a lot on this chart, so I'm not going to use that one again. Runoff of mined item. Thank you, Tanya. Very descriptive. Okay, erosion of lands. Especially if you're going to do surface mining, you're going to see that a lot of times in these mines, you're going to have erosion because when you start just pecking at the soil and the rock with your tools, you're going to see that it's going to go all over the place, and you're going to accidentally hit something that's supporting the whole structure, and then it's not going to be good. Okay, just COVID said, what's tailings? Residue. So tailings are basically just the things that are left behind after mining. Usually, tailings are going to be toxic and they get caught in runoff and brought into waterways. Tanya says production of air pollutants. We kind of cover that one with coal, and that's one's kind of specific to coal mining or mining for natural resources. Gabriel always coming in with the paragraph explanation for me. As resources in some areas become scarce or depleted, companies are forced to push new frontiers of exploration and extract non-convenient energy, non-convenient resources. Yeah, so I actually want to go a little bit deeper in that. So I like that. So something that they could definitely ask you about on your test is called drilling in ANWR. So ANWR is called the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. So up there, because of, all of the different things, there was actually a lot of untapped oil and natural gas under the Arctic, under the Antarctic, whatever. So they have this treaty called ANWR, ANWR, Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, to where people can't drill in this space. Like, you can't go in there and disrupt all of the habitat fragmentation, but a lot of companies are actually going after it. In our current state, we have 57 years left of oil. So I will definitely be alive in 57 years. I'm sure almost all of you guys will be too. I can almost bet on that because, life. But, we've been talking about drilling in ANWR for a long time, and that's definitely something they could ask you to propose a solution for, like get more resources. And then you have, lots of different things. So just COVID says we have a lot of coal. Yeah, that's true. Yep. But the problem with using coal, like we talked about earlier, is that it burns really, really dirty. Like, we stopped relying on coal a while ago, and now in the United States, our portfolio is more with natural gas and oil than it is with coal because of all of the sulfur dioxide emissions with coal. Yeah. So Trump has proposed clean coal just because we have so much of it. And clean coal is basically just like the expensive anthracite form of coal. It's just a new, buzzword type of thing, to where clean coal doesn't actually really exist, but it's just kind of, saying, it's coal, but it's not as bad as regular coal. It's just expensive, fancy coal. It's like calling escargot snails. You're calling it what it is. Another problem with mining, illegal worker protections. Yeah, okay. Dangerous for human conditions. We said worker safety. Yeah, big companies, capitalism, people are scared of nuclear. Whoa, we're saying a lot of things in this chat right now. All right. So basically, what are some pros of mining? I can think of a few right now. I'm sorry, Tanya, that you knew all this stuff. Money, yes, you sell things, you get things, you sell things. Moolah. What else do I got? I took a while to write that one down. So you got resources. So when we're mining, we're going to call that ore. So ore is basically just like the rock that you're looking for when you're mining. So we're going to get the ore, we're going to get whatever we want, and then that's going to also go along with energy resources, whatever we burn for energy, all of our non-renewable, XYZ stuff. Except I, again, cannot spell the word resources today. So, Tanya, when you asked about typos being counted off on the AP exam, I just misspelled resources, but when my reader sees that, they're probably going to say, oh, I know he meant resources, that's whatever. Got it. Okay. My Minecraft knowledge has come in handy. Wonderful. I'm so glad that all of those years since, what was that? So I was in 4th grade when Minecraft was really big. Gosh, such a long time ago. So what are some solutions for, tailings at AP Minecraft? What are some solutions for tailing, acid deposition? What are some solutions for worker safety, erosion? So, since I'm kind of already at an hour right now, this is probably going to be our last thing. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to answer more questions, but I hope I got through a lot of them, when we did this chart together. Replenish native soils and grasses, cleaning excess waste, proper waste removal, site inspections. A problem is that I should talk about it more. Force companies to restore their land to the best of their abilities. So we call that reclamation. So we can just say, enforce the Surface Mining Act. Basically, the Surface Mining Act has said the companies had to reclaim their land, which is basically just restoring it to the best of their abilities. So there is not a time limit to these, but we generally try to cap these at around an hour-ish. That's the recommended time. So I've got a question, I think, maybe that I can answer. Okay, Tanya says, with a typo in there, which is going to be okay on the AP exam because I know what you mean by your typo, but I do see a typo. So it says, what if I said timber instead of timber, and my answer was timber? Well, they think I was trying to say lumber. No, it doesn't really, like, it's fine. Like, not a big deal with typos. So the finished version of this chart is going to be available, but while you guys are thinking of things in the chat, I'll show you what I have. So I have a chat for like a chart for units 6 and 7 too, just like with a few things. So you guys can look at this. It's kind of like the same thing. But unit 7, I took off the pros because there are no pros with these air pollutants. Like, what's a good thing about chlorofluorocarbons? What's a good thing about radon? Oh, it kills people. Wonderful. That's not a pro. So with those, we're not going to have a lot of pros. So the finished version of this chart is going to be available. I can get the link for the slides in a second, but keep putting, ways to fix these things in the chat. There's definitely more than just enforcing the act. What do you guys got? I know you guys are smart. So just COVID, they won't be able to tell apart, but most AP readers are going to give you the benefit of the doubt if you say something that's like slightly wrong. Like if you say something that's like a letter off, but it's really close, most readers probably won't count you off for that. They'll probably be like, oh, okay, I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt, and, I'm not going to say bad things. So I have linked the slides that I'm on right here on the FRQ website. So don't do intentional typos, please. Like, just don't do intentional typos. That's just dumb. Okay. Let's see. Population control. The smell from chlorops wipes is not actually a VOC. Okay. So I'm just going to give you some more. You can have new legislation about worker safety. For erosion, that's covered under Surface Mining and Reclamation Act. What else do we got? Acid deposition. So with that one, we could just say regulate use of acids. Okay. Population control is a fix for a lot of things, but that's not something that I can just say. Part D of my FRQ number 2 says, make a claim that helps prevent the spread of disease. Population control with antinatalist policies is a great way for the government to get people to stop having babies. Perfect. Okay, so basically, it's been an hour. We finished this chart. I answered some questions for you guys. There's one more that I'm going to answer in the chat real quick, but, this is it. So COVID says we have only done one of the 3 charts, but I kind of just threw these together really quickly. As you can see, they don't look really beautiful or something. So you guys can go and look at the slides, take a screenshot of it, then do it on your own. I posted the link to the slides in the chat if you want to scroll up. But, I hope that helps. So Maddie asked a really good question. Can we say educating girls because that's population control? If you want to say educating women about birth control methods, about family planning, then that's definitely population control. Okay. Yes, awesome. You guys are welcome. So it's going to be in the resources for the stream, and I can repost the link to the slides, but I just closed the tab as I say this, so I'll just have to scroll up and copy paste. Oops, you already sent that message. Don't care. Oh. Okay, so it does not look like it's going to let me repost the slides. This could be a good thing if you just want to have the tab open during your test and be like, ooh, I'm kind of stumped. What the heck is a tailing? Oh yeah, it's something about mining. Okay, so Crowdcast is not letting me send it again, so let me just do this. So I also made it this big green call to action button, and it's just called slides, and it'll take you to the FRQ website where I posted these. Okay, so the CRAMs disabled the chat and the questions because there were 2,000 people for a few reasons. The chat and ask a question section on the CRAMs, they really slowed down the bandwidth of the streams, and it required the streamer to use a lot more Wi-Fi, and that's why a lot of people had issues with the why people had issues with like chat, with the stream buffering, with really blurry screens, like because of the chat and ask a question being open with about 2,000 people on some of the crams. Like APUS is still working, and they have like 2,600 people on right now. So that's a lot of people, and they had to disable the chat and ask a question just because of the amount of people. So let me actually go answer that question that I got about experimental design. So Charbel says, can you explain what it means to identify an aspect of research design on the experimental design FRQ? So basically with that, it's basically just like saying, how are you going to collect your data? So an aspect of research design would just be like, how am I going to collect my data? So I could say, I will have a sample group that I will test 3 times over the course of a few months. Every month, I will get in the lab and test these rats for XYZ thing they're looking for. So an aspect of research design is just going to be like your data collection method. It just means like, how are you going to get your data? How many times are you going to do it? Repetition is always the answer to that question. Good question. So control groups are going to be a little bit different because usually the question is going to say something specific about, identify the control in your experiment. If they ask you to create an experiment on your own, which I personally think that they're just going to like have you analyze an experiment, but they could do whatever they want to do. Do you guys have any other questions before we finish up for tonight? Anything? I'm going to go on present mode to make you guys happy now. Okay, so a short recap of everything we went over. So I talked about the AP exam updates, 2 types of FRQs, design and investigation, proposed environmental solution. I told you guys to do the demo because some laptops are compatible, some aren't, and you also need to make sure that, your browser works. And then don't wait to submit. Make sure you give yourself enough time to submit. And then what did we do? I answered a few questions. What did I answer questions about? I talked about the specifics of the FRQs. Why is noise pollution bad? What if I have typos? Aspects of experimental design. Then we filled in this Unit 5 proposed environmental solution chart together. And, that was kind of it. Any other questions? I can stay on here for about like 2 more minutes answering questions, but then I gotta go because it is dinner time and Harrison is hungry. All right, I'm so glad that this helped. I really hope you guys do well in your AP exam.